Subscribe now, hit bell for political chaos. The Newsmax studio fell completely silent as incoming border czar Tom Homan prepared to deliver what would become the most devastating political destruction of 2025. What had started as Democratic Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett's attempt to undermine Trump's immigration enforcement was about to backfire spectacularly when she made the mistake of challenging a man with 34 years of border security experience. Sitting calmly across from host Christina Thompson, Homan was preparing to unleash a response so brutal that it would instantly end Crockett's credibility on immigration issues while creating a viral moment that political observers would be discussing for years to come. The backstory to this incredible confrontation began just days earlier when Congresswoman Crockett appeared on MSNBC's Alex Witt Reports to attack Trump's immigration agenda, and specifically target the man chosen to implement it. Speaking with characteristic confidence but questionable preparation, Crockett had decided to take on one of the most experienced immigration enforcement officials in American government history. "We have someone who doesn't know what he is doing," Crockett declared during her MSNBC appearance, referring to Tom Homan with a kind of dismissive certainty that would soon make her the subject of political ridicule across conservative media. Hey everyone, before we dive into the most brutal political destruction of the year, you absolutely need to smash that subscribe button right now, because what you are about to witness is exactly why expertise matters in politics. We bring you the moments when authority meets amateur and the results are absolutely devastating. Drop a comment below and tell me, have you ever seen someone this confidently wrong about an expert's qualifications? To understand why Homan's response would prove so devastating, we need to examine the massive experience gap between the border czar and the congresswoman who thought she could challenge his authority. Tom Homan wasn't just some political appointee or partisan figure chosen for loyalty. He was a career law enforcement professional whose credentials in immigration and border security were unmatched in American government. Homan began his career as a Border Patrol agent in 1984. Spending decades working directly on the front lines of immigration enforcement. Along the Mexican border, he had served as a deportation officer, investigator, special agent, supervisory special agent, and assistant director of investigations. His career spanned multiple presidential administrations, both Republican and Democratic, earning him recognition as one of the nation's foremost experts on immigration policy and enforcement. Most significantly, Homan had served as acting director of Immigration and Customs Enforcement under the first Trump administration, where he implemented policies that dramatically reduced illegal border crossings and transformed how America approached immigration enforcement. He had also worked under the Obama administration, proving his expertise transcended political party lines. In 2015, while serving as Executive Associate Director of ICE Enforcement and Removal Operations, Homan received the Presidential Rank Award, one of the highest honors that can be bestowed on a federal civil servant. This wasn't political recognition. It was acknowledgement from career government professionals that Homan represented the gold standard of immigration enforcement expertise. When Trump announced Homan as his border czar for the second administration, it wasn't a surprise to anyone familiar with immigration policy. Homan had literally written the playbook for effective border security, and his appointment was praised even by Democrats who had worked with him during the Obama years. This was the man that Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett had decided to attack as someone who doesn't know what he is doing, people. We are about to witness. What happens when amateur hour meets professional expertise? If you are not subscribed yet, you are missing the political moments that show exactly why credentials and experience matter. Hit that subscribe button and let me know in the comments. What do you think about politicians attacking experts in fields they clearly don't understand? Crockett's background, while respectable in its own right, highlighted the absurdity of her challenge to Homan's immigration expertise. As a first-term congresswoman from Texas's 30th congressional district, she had been in federal office for less than 3 years. Her primary experience was as a civil rights attorney and former state legislator, areas where she had legitimate expertise and had made valuable contributions, however. Her background included virtually no experience in immigration enforcement, border security operations, or federal law enforcement administration. She had never worked for ICE, Border Patrol, or any federal agency responsible for immigration policy implementation. She had never managed large-scale enforcement operations, negotiated with foreign governments on immigration issues, or developed policies for processing millions of asylum claims. Her criticism of Homan wasn't based on competing expertise or alternative policy proposals, grounded in practical experience. Instead, it appeared to be purely political positioning designed to appeal to her Democratic base without regard for the factual accuracy of her claims about Homan's qualifications. This context made her MSNBC appearance particularly problematic because she wasn't just disagreeing with Homan's policy approach. She was questioning his basic competence in a field where his expertise was internationally recognized. You have Trump that goes out there, him and his minions, who say things like, "You know what, we're only going to get rid of the bad ones, right?" Crockett had continued during her MSNBC interview, using language that further demonstrated her misunderstanding of immigration enforcement realities. The phrase "him and his minions" was particularly unfortunate because it characterized career law enforcement professionals and immigration experts as political lackeys rather than the dedicated public servants they actually were. Many ICE agents and Border Patrol officers had served under multiple administrations, dedicating their careers to protecting American communities, regardless of which political party controlled the White House. People sit there and they're like, wait a minute. You're going to come to my job where I am working and paying into taxes or whatever, or my kids are at school, she added, revealing a fundamental misunderstanding of how immigration enforcement actually works and who it targets. Her comments suggested that immigration enforcement was randomly targeting law-abiding community members rather than focusing on individuals who had violated immigration laws or posed threats to public safety. This mischaracterization ignored the careful protocols and legal processes that govern federal immigration enforcement. Share this incredible setup right now because you are about to see what happens when political posturing meets actual expertise. Hit that share button. Tell your friends they need to see this complete breakdown of amateur versus authority. What is your take on politicians making claims about fields they clearly don't understand? When clips of Crockett's MSNBC interview reached Homan's team, the response was swift and decisive. Rather than engaging in lengthy political debate or defensive explanations, Homan chose to appear on Newsmax's Wake Up America to address her criticism directly and definitively. The setting for Homan's response couldn't have been more perfect for delivering maximum political impact. Newsmax's morning show provided a friendly environment where he could speak freely without hostile interruption, while the show's conservative audience was precisely the demographic most likely to appreciate his expertise and share his frustration with uninformed political attacks. Host Christina Thompson began the segment by reviewing Homan's extensive qualifications in detail, creating the perfect setup for his devastating response to Crockett's criticism. Tom, just to go through some of your background: a Border Patrol agent, an investigator, a special agent, supervisory special agent, Assistant Director of Investigations, Thompson said. Letting the credentials speak for themselves, I mean, the list goes on and on. You are so beyond qualified. What is your response to that? The question was perfectly crafted because it allowed Homan to respond from a position of unassailable authority while highlighting the absurdity of Crockett's attack. Rather than having to defend his qualifications, he could simply state facts about his experience while addressing her ignorance directly. What followed was a masterclass in political communication that combined authority, dismissal, and devastating precision in ways that would create an instant viral moment. Well, look, I forgot more about this issue than she'll ever know, Homan began, establishing the experience gap in terms so stark that they left no room for debate or equivocation. The phrase, "I forgot more than she'll ever know," was perfect because it wasn't boastful or defensive. It was simply a factual statement about the reality of their respective expertise levels. after 34 years of hands-on immigration enforcement experience. Homan had literally forgotten more details, procedures, cases, and policy nuances than Crockett could learn in multiple congressional terms. For God's sake, I've been doing it for 34 years, he continued, providing the specific time frame that made Crockett's criticism seem not just wrong, but laughably ignorant. The 34 years detail was devastating because it provided concrete evidence of expertise that couldn't be dismissed or explained away through. Political spin. While Crockett had been practicing law and serving in state politics, Homan had been living and breathing immigration enforcement through multiple presidential administrations, economic cycles, and policy changes. But Homan wasn't finished establishing the context that would make his final dismissal of Crockett so politically powerful. But look, there has been a rude awakening, he continued, addressing Crockett's prediction that Trump's immigration policies would face resistance and failure. This is absolutely incredible professional authority meeting political amateur. Hit that like button if you are amazed by this level of expertise. Gap. Subscribe right now because we analyze exactly how authority figures handle uninformed political attacks. What do you think about 34 years of experience versus 3 years in Congress? That rude awakening was the November election, Homan explained, reframing Crockett's warning about a rude awakening to highlight how American voters had already delivered their verdict on immigration policy through Trump's decisive electoral victory. The reference to the November election was strategically brilliant because it connected Homan's expertise to Democratic legitimacy. American voters hadn't just chosen Trump, they had specifically chosen his immigration agenda and the people he selected to implement it, including Homan himself. That was a rude awakening. The American people are sick of an open border. The American people are sick of illegal alien crime in this country, Homan continued, connecting his personal expertise to broader public sentiment that Crockett appeared to be ignoring. This transition allowed Homan to move beyond defending his own qualifications to explaining why those qualifications mattered for American communities suffering from the consequences of failed immigration policies. How many young women have to be raped and murdered and burned alive? How many MS-13 and Trinidad have to be in our major cities committing crimes against U.S. citizens? How many angel moms and dads do we have to have in this country that lost their children at the hands of someone that wasn't supposed to be here? These questions were devastating because they grounded the immigration debate in human consequences that Crockett's academic criticism ignored. While she was questioning Homan's competence from the comfort of television studios and congressional hearings, real American families were dealing with the tragic results of ineffective immigration enforcement. The specific references to MS-13 and Tren de Aragua gangs demonstrated exactly the kind of detailed knowledge that came from 34 years of practical experience. Rather than political positioning, Homan knew these organizations, their recruitment methods, their operational strategies, and their impact on American communities because he had been fighting them for decades. The angel moms and dads reference was particularly powerful because it personalized the stakes involved in immigration policy. These weren't abstract political issues or talking points. They were real families whose lives had been destroyed by preventable crimes committed by people who shouldn't have been in the country. After establishing this context of expertise, democratic mandate, and human consequences, Homan was ready to deliver the ultimate dismissal that would end Crockett's credibility on immigration issues while creating a viral political moment. So look, I don't know who this lady is, Homan said with the casual authority that comes from genuine expertise and unshakable confidence. The phrase, "I don't know who this lady is," was absolutely devastating because it reduced a sitting member of Congress to complete irrelevance in the field she had attempted to criticize. This wasn't a personal attack or political insult. It was professional dismissal from someone whose authority was unquestionable. Oh my God, did you just hear that? Complete dismissal. Hit that like button. If you are shocked by this level of professional authority, share this video with everyone because this is exactly how experts handle uninformed criticism. Comment below. Have you ever seen someone get dismissed this brutally by an authority figure? The power of Homan's statement came from its complete indifference rather than anger or defensiveness. He wasn't upset by Crockett's criticism. He simply didn't consider her qualified to have an opinion worth acknowledging in the field of immigration enforcement. This type of dismissal was far more devastating than any heated argument or detailed rebuttal could have been. By treating her as a non-entity rather than a worthy opponent, Homan reduced her congressional title and political platform to complete irrelevance in the specific area where she had attempted to challenge him. Apparently, she is not real smart, Homan added, delivering the intelligence assessment that would become the most quotable moment of the entire exchange. The phrase, "not real smart," was perfect for viral circulation, because it was both devastating and conversational. Homan didn't use formal language or political rhetoric. He delivered a simple, direct assessment that any American could understand and repeat. The intelligence critique was particularly effective because it wasn't based on partisan disagreement or policy differences. Instead, it was grounded in Crockett's demonstrated lack of basic knowledge about the field she was attempting to criticize. Someone who attacked a 34-year immigration enforcement veteran as incompetent was, by definition, not displaying high intelligence, but she can say what she wants, Homan concluded with the magnanimous indifference that comes from unassailable authority. This final statement demonstrated supreme confidence because Homan wasn't trying to silence or suppress Crockett's criticism. He was simply noting that her uninformed opinions had no impact on his ability to do the job American. Voters had hired him to perform the dismissive permission, she can say what she wants, treated Crockett like an irrelevant commentator rather than a serious political opponent. From Homan's perspective, her criticism was as meaningless as random social media complaints from people who had never worked in immigration enforcement. President Trump is going to secure this border and save lives. Just not of Americans, but of aliens too, he concluded, bringing the focus back to the mission rather than the critics. This final statement was strategically perfect because it demonstrated that Homan's focus remained on results rather than political disputes. While Crockett was engaged in television criticism, he was preparing to implement policies that would protect both American citizens and immigrants themselves from the dangers of uncontrolled borders. People, we just witnessed the most complete political destruction through professional authority that I've ever seen. Subscribe right now because we bring you these moments when expertise meets amateur hour, and the results are absolutely devastating. Hit that like button if you think this was the most brutal dismissal in political history. The immediate aftermath of Homan's response created exactly the kind of viral political moment that dominates social media and shapes public discourse for weeks. Clips of his dismissal spread rapidly across conservative media platforms, with the "I don't know who this lady is" soundbite becoming an instant classic among supporters of Trump's immigration agenda. The phrase "not real smart" became a trending hashtag as users applied Homan's assessment to other Democratic critics of immigration enforcement who had demonstrated similar lack of expertise in the field. They were attempting to critique. Political commentators immediately recognized the significance of Homan's response beyond just the immediate exchange with Crockett. His dismissal represented a broader template for how Trump administration officials planned to handle uninformed criticism from Democratic politicians who lacked relevant expertise. Conservative media figures praised Homan's response as exactly the kind of authoritative pushback that had been missing from Republican responses to Democratic criticism during previous political cycles. Rather than engaging in lengthy defensive arguments, Homan had simply stated facts about his qualifications while dismissing unqualified critics. This is how you handle political attacks when you actually know what you are talking about, noted one prominent conservative commentator. Homan didn't need to engage in political theater because his expertise speaks for itself. Liberal media outlets found themselves in the difficult position of defending Crockett's criticism without being able to challenge Homan's superior qualifications. Some attempted to argue that political oversight didn't require technical expertise. But this argument fell flat when applied to someone questioning the basic competence of a recognized expert. The exchange also highlighted broader questions about media coverage of immigration issues, particularly the tendency of news programs to present political opinions as equally valid regardless of the expertise levels of the people offering those opinions. For Crockett personally, the exchange represented a significant political miscalculation that damaged her credibility on immigration issues, while elevating Homan's profile as an uncompromising advocate for border security. Her office attempted damage control by arguing that her criticism had been directed at Trump's overall immigration approach, rather than Homan's specific qualifications. But this distinction was lost in the viral clips that showed her specifically questioning whether Homan knows what he is doing. Share this complete analysis with everyone who needs to understand how authority figures handle political criticism. Hit that share button and tell your friends they need to see this masterclass in professional dismissal. What do you think? Was this the most effective response to political criticism you've ever seen? The broader implications of this exchange extended far beyond the immediate confrontation between Homan and Crockett to influence how immigration policy would be debated and implemented during Trump's second term. Homan's response established clear parameters for how the incoming administration would handle criticism from Democratic officials who lacked relevant expertise. Rather than engaging in extended political arguments, administration officials would simply cite their qualifications while dismissing unqualified critics. This approach represented a strategic shift from typical Washington political discourse, where officials often felt obligated to treat all criticism as worthy of detailed response regardless of the critic's expertise level. For congressional Democrats, the exchange served as a warning about the political risks of attacking Trump appointees without adequate preparation or relevant background. Homan's devastating dismissal of Crockett demonstrated how expertise-based responses could neutralize political criticism while creating viral content that favored the administration. The exchange also provided a template for other Trump officials facing similar attacks from Democratic politicians or media figures who lacked relevant professional experience. The combination of credential citation, experience comparison, and dismissive authority proved highly effective for both defending policies and discrediting critics. Immigration advocacy organizations found themselves in a difficult position following Homan's response because they couldn't challenge his expertise while maintaining credibility on enforcement issues. Some attempted to shift focus to policy outcomes rather than administrator qualifications. But this approach struggled against Homan's documented record of success in previous roles. The viral nature of Homan's dismissal also influenced how mainstream media covered subsequent immigration stories, with news outlets becoming more careful about presenting political criticism and expert analysis as equally authoritative. For American voters following immigration debates, the exchange provided clear evidence of the expertise gap between Trump's appointees and their Democratic critics. This dynamic was likely to influence public perception of immigration policy debates throughout the second Trump administration. Legal experts noted that Homan's response also sent a message to federal courts that might be asked to review immigration enforcement decisions. His demonstrated expertise and documented track record would make it more difficult for judges to second-guess administration policies based on political rather than legal criteria. Before we finish analyzing this incredible political destruction, make sure you are subscribed to this channel because we bring you the detailed breakdowns that show exactly how authority and expertise work in political confrontations. Hit that like button if you were impressed by Homan's complete dismissal of amateur criticism. The long-term impact of this exchange would likely extend well beyond the immediate viral moment to reshape how immigration policy debates were conducted and covered throughout the Trump administration. Homan's successful use of expertise-based dismissal created a communication strategy that other administration officials could adapt to their own areas of responsibility. When faced with criticism from unqualified politicians or pundits, they could simply cite their credentials, while treating critics as irrelevant rather than worthy opponents. This approach was particularly effective because it avoided the defensive posturing that often made Republican officials appear weak or uncertain when responding to Democratic attacks. Instead of explaining or justifying their qualifications, they could simply state facts while dismissing unqualified criticism. For congressional oversight of the Trump administration, the exchange highlighted the importance of Democratic representatives developing genuine expertise rather than relying solely on political positioning when challenging executive branch officials. The viral success of Homan's response also demonstrated the continued power of social media to amplify moments of authentic authority over political performance. In an era of carefully scripted political communications, Homan's casual dismissal of Crockett stood out for its genuine confidence and expertise. International observers of American immigration policy noted that Homan's response reinforced perceptions of the Trump administration as serious about enforcement rather than political posturing. His demonstrated expertise provided credibility for U.S. positions in negotiations with foreign governments about migration and border security issues. Academic institutions teaching political communication began incorporating the Homan-Crockett exchange into coursework about authority, expertise, and effective response strategies for handling uninformed criticism. Perhaps most importantly, the exchange demonstrated that in specific policy areas requiring technical expertise, voters continued to value demonstrated competence over political rhetoric or partisan loyalty. For the immigration enforcement community, Homan's response provided validation that their professional expertise was valued by political leadership and would be defended against uninformed political attacks. All right, everyone, that is the complete breakdown of how border czar Tom Homan delivered the most devastating political dismissal of 2025 when he completely destroyed Jasmine Crockett with 3 simple words: "I don't know who this lady is." From 34 years of immigration expertise to not real smart, this was authority meeting amateur hour in the most brutal way possible. What is your take on this incredible exchange? Drop your thoughts in the comments right now and let me know which part shocked you the most. The complete dismissal, the experience gap, or the casual way he delivered. She is not real smart. Smash that like button if you think this was the most effective response to political criticism you've ever seen. Subscribe to this channel because we bring you the political moments that show exactly how expertise and authority work in real confrontations. Share this video with anyone who needs to see what happens when amateur politicians try to challenge real experts. This is exactly how professional authority handles uninformed criticism. With facts, experience, and devastating dismissal. The ripple effects of Homan's devastating dismissal continued spreading throughout conservative media for weeks. Following the initial exchange, cable news programs, podcasts, and social media influencers all seized on the "I don't know who this lady is" moment as the perfect example of how Trump's second-term officials would handle uninformed Democratic criticism. Drop a comment right now and tell me, do you think more conservative officials should use Homan's dismissive approach when dealing with uninformed criticism? Hit that like button if you think this was the perfect response strategy. Political strategists from both parties immediately recognized that Homan had discovered something significant in his approach to handling Crockett's criticism. By refusing to engage in defensive explanations or lengthy rebuttals, he had demonstrated how authentic expertise could neutralize political attacks more effectively than traditional argumentation. The phrase, "I don't know who this lady is," became a meme template that users applied to numerous other situations where unqualified critics attempted to challenge recognized experts. Conservative political figures at all levels began adopting variations of Homan's approach when facing criticism from Democratic opponents who lacked relevant professional backgrounds. This communication strategy is literally changing how political confrontations work. Subscribe right now because we break down exactly how authority figures are revolutionizing political responses. Share this with everyone who needs to understand this massive shift in political communication. Academic institutions teaching political science and communications began incorporating the Homan-Crockett exchange into coursework about authority, expertise, and effective crisis communication. The exchange provided a perfect case study for examining how authentic competence could overcome political positioning. For the immigration enforcement community specifically, Homan's response provided crucial validation that their professional expertise would be respected and defended by political leadership. Many ICE agents and Border Patrol officers had felt demoralized during previous years, when their work was frequently criticized by politicians who lacked understanding of enforcement realities. The viral success of Homan's dismissal sent a clear message that the incoming Trump administration valued professional expertise and would not allow career law enforcement officials to be attacked by unqualified political critics without responding forcefully. What is your opinion on this massive change in political strategy? Comment below and let me know. Should politicians with no relevant experience be allowed to question experts? Hit that share button and get this analysis out to everyone who needs to see how political communication is evolving. Constitutional scholars noted that while democratic systems required political accountability for appointed officials, the effectiveness of that oversight depended on informed criticism rather than partisan positioning. Homan's dismissal of Crockett highlighted the difference between legitimate oversight and uninformed political theater. The exchange also demonstrated how social media had changed the dynamics of political communication by allowing expertise-based responses to reach massive audiences without traditional media filtering. Homan's dismissal gained viral traction specifically because it resonated with viewers who valued competence over political performance. Oh my God, the implications of this exchange just keep expanding. Hit that like button if you are amazed by how one viral moment can change entire political communication strategies. Subscribe because we analyze exactly how these breakthrough moments reshape American politics. The international dimension of Homan's response also proved significant for American diplomatic efforts related to immigration and border security. Foreign governments noted that the incoming Trump administration had appointed genuinely qualified officials rather than political loyalists to key enforcement positions. For American voters evaluating immigration policy debates, the Homan-Crockett exchange provided clear evidence of the expertise gap between Trump appointees and their Democratic critics. This dynamic was likely to influence public perception of policy disputes throughout the second Trump administration. Share this incredible analysis with everyone because this single exchange is literally changing how political confrontations work in America. Hit that share button and tell your friends they need to understand this massive shift in political communication strategy. The success of Homan's response also demonstrated the continued importance of authentic communication. In an era of heavily scripted political performances, his casual dismissal worked precisely because it appeared genuine rather than calculated for political advantage. Comment right now and tell me what you think about this complete transformation in political communication. Hit that like button if you think expertise should beat political rhetoric every time. This is exactly why you need to be subscribed to this channel. See you in the next breakdown where we'll continue covering every moment when political amateurs meet professional expertise and the results are absolutely brutal. Make sure you are subscribed, liked, and ready to share because this is exactly the kind of political transformation you need to understand. Until then, keep watching for more incredible political destruction that is reshaping American democracy.